Welcome to Limitless Living Into the Mindset, the podcast that dives into the heart of growth, grit, and what it really means to keep moving forward. What's up, John?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Life going?
It's great. Life is great, as always.
Good. So just got done talking to Magda.
Yep.
That was fun.
It was great. It was a great episode.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Knowing her for a long time. Love her. The community loves her. She's great. We got into running a little bit, maybe a little too much. When we start talking about running, I tend to just kind of go with that. It's natural to me and comfortable.
Yeah,
but what are some of the takeaways you had from?
Well, yeah, it was cool to hear Magda's story because I know her sort of like through the community, and I've met her a couple of times, just various random times in the past. I don't even know if she remembers meeting me, but we have met a couple of times, and we just recently started attending the church that she goes to, the church that you go to, and so that's cool. It's cool to get to hear especially just being from Lebanon. And yes, I've moved away, lived in a couple of other states and got to experience different things culturally or whatever. But to hear somebody's perspective, having such a varied, kind of cultural background and just kind of going through the different phases of life that she's gone through, it is really cool to hear that. You don't really get to hear that a lot in a town like ours. So, I just thought it was really cool to hear that. And then, of course, moving into the conversation that was more around running or more around self-care and kind of the discipline of, all the things that she's juggling all at once. It kind of, for me listening in, it reminded me of a lot of truths that I've sort of quieted over the last year or so of my life. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a inspiration to go like, oh, I need to get my mind back on track with just the way that she was describing like self-discipline and motivation and the reasons for organizing her life around, fitness goals or just the different things that she's interested in or things that benefit her health, that then all of that trickle down effect that happens whenever you have things in the right order. Every other thing in your life is impacted by those first priorities. Yeah. So it was really motivating for me because it's easy to lose sight of. It's easy to get into a really good groove where you're like firing on all cylinders and then kind of ease off the gas pedal a little bit and then go, oh yeah, life is always, even if life is good whenever you're in that mode, it's way better when you're leaning in, way better when you're pushing yourself to those boundaries.
I think it was cool. Towards the end of the episode, I had asked her, how much does your running or your fitness play into your businesses and life and everything? And for, her cooking and everything, it plays a huge role in that. And it was almost like if she hadn't had such a focus on health and wellness, the cooking thing might have never even happened. So the fact that, again, what you were saying, she centered it around, I need to take care of myself, physically and mentally and all of that. And how do I do that? And learning from that and then taking that and putting it into her cooking. And now that's developing into something really cool. It just shows that if you're putting your priorities in the right spot, it's going to take you places you never could have imagined.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. I think that's a really interesting thing in general. Like the things that we need the most are typically the things that we prioritize the least. And a lot of it comes around just to like, oh, we don't have time for that. And of course, you make the time that you have or whatever. Like you create, if it's important to you, you create space for it. And it's funny is we think that we can't fit that kind of stuff in. But when we start reordering our lives around important things like faith, like health, things like that, we actually kind of realize that we have more time and more energy to give to those other endeavors, like stuff that, like, if you don't think you have time to go run for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, or do a workout or stretch or whatever the thing might be.
Right.
you certainly don't have time to build a new business. You certainly don't have time to do these things that maybe in the back of your mind, you're going, man, that would be really awesome. Or you look to like kind of influencers or celebrities or whatever, and you go like, how in the world do they do so much with the same amount of time I have, you know? Mm-hmm. But you kind of realize what's possible when you start to order your life around those important things, and you wake up to all of this extra time. And dude, I'm speaking from, like I said, like I'm kind of on the other side of that, where I'm like, I fell back into comfort. I fell back into like sleeping in and not worrying too much about the early, like I have that as a note, you know, like talking about being up early. Like I don't relate to that at all. Like I don't ever want that to be a thing. But when I do, my entire day is way, way better. Yeah. And then the self-talk that goes into that, like when you get up and you're like, man, I just want to snooze the alarm clock for another hour, 2 hours, 3, whatever it is. Yeah, I want to keep going. 9 minutes is not enough, you know, give me another hour. It's like, if you can move past that initial knee jerk thing that your mind is kind of like playing tricks on you, like, and get out of bed within 10 or 15 minutes, you don't even remember that you didn't want to get up.
It's usually after the first for me. Yeah. I'm good after that, but it's like I sit up, I turn to get out of bed. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. And then it's gone. And then you're ready to go.
Yeah. And it's so easy to forget that. It's so easy to just stay cozy and comfortable and look outside, and either it's rainy or it's too hot or it's this or it's that or whatever. Especially like when it gets cold, you know, it's really hard to get up and go outside and do something good for your health and wellness in the cold or in the heat, you know. Extreme.
And all this isn't to say, you and I have talked about this before, just because it worked for me or just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else. Yeah. You can take what Magda was saying, you can take what you're saying, you can take what I'm saying, or whoever else, a celebrity, whoever you want to listen to, you can take what they're saying, but you don't have to do exactly that. You can develop that into your life. So if you're just not a morning person because you enjoy staying up later, or you work night shifts or whatever, and you just don't have that morning, you can do it later. But the point is there's always time for you to do it. I remember coming up through cross country and track, there were years that I was up at 4:30 in the morning to go for a run. And so when I got out of that world, I was like, I am never waking up early ever again. Yeah. And then now I do it again to run with the cross country student athletes and stuff now as an adult. And I love it. And I like getting up earlier now and going and getting my run done. This morning I was able to get up. I went, I did my run. And I felt I had the energy for the rest of the day. But during those years where I was running later in the afternoon, I loved running just as much. I loved being active just as much. Or the years that I spend more time in the gym, it doesn't matter what time it is of the day. I love it just as much as long as I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. It's whenever I fall out of it or whenever I fall out of the routine, whatever that routine may be, that I start to, Magda mentioned it, that if you go a day without running, or if you go a day without working out, like, you feel it. And it's true, you do. If it's part of your routine, you feel it. I get sick to my stomach because my body's used to functioning at a higher level. Mm-hmm. And I've just been lounging around on the couch all day, and it's just kind of like, I just feel gross. Yeah. But
lounging is pretty fun.
I mean, it is nice, and you have to have that. Last night after, I did my run, I was like, I'm just going to lay here.
There's something that makes it feel better, like when it feels deserved to have when you're just in the rut of not doing anything and you feel lethargic and your body doesn't feel good, your mind, your spirit doesn't feel good. Nothing is like in sync. It doesn't clicking, that's not great. I mean, you might trick yourself into thinking it is for a while because you're like binging a show and you're not really thinking about who you are or what you're doing with your life. But whenever you do something difficult and you've earned, or you have this time of deserving a moment, and you also realize that a little bit goes a long way when you're in that rhythm of not doing. It kind of like takes over. and puts like a kind of a glaze over all of life. But whenever you're in it, you go, and then when you have a moment of reprieve and you're like, I'm going to kick back for a little bit, you sit around for 45 minutes or whatever. And you're like, what's the next thing? You know, like we're ready to go. Or after the day off or whatever, or after a vacation, you're motivated to get back into the grind. And I think that's a thing that, you know, we miss when we're not in that. And I think that another thing that she mentioned a lot was like kind of like the community, the importance of like in running, there's like kind of a built-in community, because I think it's such a, I don't know, it's a thing that not as many people gravitate toward. So
it sucks.
It sucks. It's hard. And so when people find out, even if they're not the same level runner as you or whatever, or you're not as them, which is my case, I've never really been like a fast, fast runner, but I just want to get out and do it whenever I'm doing it.
Yeah.
The community thing is like, I've run races, like I'm never running competitively. I'm like competing against myself, which is great. That's a that's a perfect goal to have when you're running. But I've crossed the finish line, been, you know, middle of the pack, and the people are just as excited as the dude who crossed the line first.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing feeling, because it's like people actually they're just happy that you're there.
Yeah.
And you are committed to your health, and you finished and you survived and made it through.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like an amazing thing. And I kind of just personally, I kind of take that for granted. I tend to like get in my head when I'm running, like in a good way, like solitude. It tends to be an individual thing for me, but I have run with friends before. I've run with you quite a few times. I've run with my friend Brian Swino and a couple of other people randomly throughout. And it is like, I always have such a great time on those runs, but I don't like naturally think to involve other people. And also listening to Magda's episode, I thought, like when I get back into running, I should do that more in a community kind of, because what happens to me is that because I get in my head and I'm like so solitude focused, I'll start overthinking like the things that you guys talked about in that episode. I'll start like thinking I'm slowing them down. I'm like ruining their run and ruining their day, and they hate me, and I can't, they regret ever inviting me. Like it starts this crazy snowball of like all this stuff. And then I'm out of the run. I'm like, I'm not here. I'm actually doing worse because I'm so like preoccupied. But that's just stuff that we have to like learn to let go. Yeah.
So, I had mentioned in the episode that I had ran into my buddy Clint that day, and I had turned around. I was finishing my run. I had turned around to continue running with him, and ultimately I did another mile, just kind of down, and then having to go back where I needed to be to finish again. And I remember as I was turning around, he patted me on the back and he said, sorry I made you go extra with me. And I just told him, it's good. This is what I love to do. I think when it becomes that to somebody, it makes it so much easier. Nobody has to worry about how slow I have to go to run with them, how far I have to go to run with them, or even if I've ran that day already, I'm still going to try to go out and run with you a little bit just because I love it that much. So I think when you have that too, it's a lot easier to just continue doing it and to build that routine and that process. And that was something I really held on to that day of like, I wasn't even thinking about it. It just popped out of my mouth. Was like, it's what I love to do. Mm-hmm. Why would I not? You know,
you're on that side. You're not thinking about pace or trying to do some PR or something like that. Right. You're just like, it is the community.
It's the community.
It's just, it's also interesting hearing Magda talk about it, knowing how we've had a lot of conversations about running and ran together, and you helped me a lot, especially early on, just like getting in the mindset of like what it means to be a runner and having a kind of a totally different understanding of that in my mind. Like you have all these preconceived ideas about what that means, and you're like, oh, I'm not that, so I guess I'm not a runner, and I don't have to like. It kind of like demotivates you a little bit when you're not thinking like that and you don't have the proper mindset. But hearing from other perspectives, like in that episode, is just like, oh man, it brings so much more to the table, and it opens it up, because it's like then it's not just these random conversations that we've had, and it's not just this one person, hearing that from multiple people, what do they say? It takes like 7 times hearing something for it to like lock in your brain.
Right.
It's sort of that kind of effect. It's like, oh yeah, there is something to that. And it's a really valuable, important thing. And it kind of made me wonder thinking, and I'm kind of just thinking of this now as we're talking, like early in the episode, she's talking about her home life or her, her upbringing in Poland, and just kind of how small it was, like in the best way, like how it wasn't like we have here, like this nation of excess. And like, even if you are doing, you're a successful family, kind of, you have, the best there is to have in whatever situation you're at. It is a smaller thing. And I think that kind of forces you to get a little more introspective and to think more about the relationships that you have as what to value, and not the things that you're doing or the things that you have. And I think that's also a really valuable thing that we don't have enough of here in our country and in our community, and just like in our cultural like worldview. We don't think of things like that. And when you have limited options, it makes you, I think, hold on to and cherish the options that you do have, and the things that, like the Coca-Cola that she mentioned, and like those significant memories. Like if you're just getting overloaded with stimulus and things and life constantly just blaring at you at full volume, none of it seems that important. None of it seems that valuable. And so I think that's kind of why we get into that in health and running. When you find those communities, what it does is it takes this big idea of health and wellness and fitness, and what you see by the people like you follow that are like really high level elite athletes. It takes all that and like boils it down to the simplest, smallest version of it, and realize that still, like everything else in life, it is all really about relationships.
Right.
And it can't all, like, solitude is great. It's great to go run by yourself and just zone out. But there's something different that happens when you do that with other people.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear her talk about really both of those perspectives, but that, self-talk and that intro perspective, and just kind of, she was really good about kind of listening to herself and knowing herself and what she needed to do. There was almost confidence in that, which was really cool to see. Because like you said, a lot of us, we're a people pleasing nation. I feel like we're always trying to grow our boss's company or get to that next level, or, whatever it is. And we a lot of times forget about ourselves. And so sometimes just taking that reality check and looking at us and being like, what do I need so that I can be my best self, is really important. And a lot of that, she was able to get to her best self because of the community that she allowed in, that she brought into it. And, she talked about, she started out with treadmill because she had control.
Yeah.
The cool thing about community is you have control there as well. You can let certain people into your life, but you can also take certain people out of your life. And sometimes we have to do that with our community to better ourselves. But that only happens if we have that inner look and are like, wait, what's going on here? What do we need to change? If it is my health and wellness, who do I need to surround myself with to be better? Something as an athlete that, I knew growing up, but I also tell our student athletes and my son, if you want to become better, you don't go out there and find somebody that's worse than you and work with them. You go and find somebody that's better than you, and you try to get to their level. And so for those people that are scared to get into fitness or scared to get into running or whatever it is, stop looking at the easiest way to do it and start looking at the people that are already doing it and doing it at an elite level, and being like, what's their process? Who do I need to bring in my community to get to that level?
Yeah.
And for Magda, it was Katie Huff. She's a local runner in our community. She's awesome. She is an insane runner. But she's somebody that a lot of people look at, they're like, she's crazy. No way.
Yeah.
But I love that Magda was just like, I'm going to give her a shot. And because she made that decision, she has now created a lifestyle based around not just running, but overall health and wellness between her fitness, running, lifting, swimming, whatever it is she's doing, to her cooking as well, where she's meal prepping and doing all that for health and wellness world.
And it raises up everybody around her. I've heard forever, it's one of my favorite, I talk to my kids about it all the time. You're the average of the 5 people you're around the most. And when you're around people that are like a step up, and you step up and they step up and you step up, you know, like it's, and it doesn't even have to be like, it's not like a competitive thing. It's just literally the nature. I think that it's God designed that in us, that we build one another up. That's literally our goal as believers. And that's who we should be as people, like in general. And it really is a thing where everybody and everything that you're involved in gets elevated when you're in those types of situations. And it just, I think it takes you getting outside of the comfort zone, getting off the treadmill, like she was talking about. Like you do have to relinquish control to see some of those results. I wrote down, that reminded me of this idea that I heard from, there's a guy that I follow. He wrote a couple of really amazing books called Michael Easter. I don't know if I think I talked to you about him. He wrote a really amazing book called The Comfort Crisis. But he talks in that about this idea of this, it's this Japanese purification ceremony called a misogi. And it actually, I think the word means water cleansing or something, but it's been adopted into like fitness culture and just into like, I think it's like in business culture and all this stuff. But anyway, the idea is basically you give yourself a personal, like private endeavor challenge that you're not telling the world about. You're not like blasting on social media or whatever. And there are 2 rules. One of them is make it really, really difficult. Basically, like you have a 50% chance of failing or not. And the second one is don't die. Don't do something so ridiculous that you're going to get seriously hurt or die.
I'm going to jump out of a plane with no shoe.
With no preparation and no training.
We're just going to go for it.
But it's like maybe you've been running for a while and you've never done like a serious challenge, and you decide to go for something that's like maybe you think you are at a 15K level and you decide to do a half marathon or something, and you don't, you just go out and you do it, and you kind of see where you're at. And the reason it's related to like the purification ceremony is it challenges us in a way that pushes us to that next level and kind of like gets rid of all the stuff that we don't need, the walls that we put up that we don't need to see. And that kind of reminded me of that. Like whenever she went from the treadmill to the street, that changed everything. That was like I didn't even know that was actually, I wasn't just kind of uncomfortable with that. It was holding her back. Right. And those are the types of things that I think really motivate me just personally to go like, what is that next thing that seems so big that maybe I shouldn't even consider doing this? Oh, let's go for it. Let's do that. And I just thought that was like a really cool thing. It's like sometimes we do those things and we don't even realize that that's what's happening. And I think it's pretty amazing. It also, she was talking about a lot about kind of the humility that comes from putting yourselves in those challenging situations. And it reminded me of, there's all through the Proverbs book of wisdom, about the middle of your Bible. Open it up, check it out. But all throughout, there's this refrain a few times at least that humility comes before honor. And I just love that. You know, whenever we want to live lives of honor, we want to honor the people around us. Everybody, I think, has a sense of wanting to feel like they're an honorable person, wanting to be honored, and not in some haughty, prideful way, but it starts with being humble. It starts with sometimes being humbled by life and by circumstances. And when I think that in any sort of health journey that anybody's on, it's like a kind of, you know that you're progressing when you're consistently being humbled, when you're consistently challenged to the point of failure. And maybe you don't fail and you go, wow, that's a crazy, huge win. Or you do and you go, I didn't get my goal. Like she mentioned, not meeting a time that was a goal for a run, but she got way closer than she was before. Right. So that's the deal. It's like, sometimes the goal is just finish. Sometimes the goal is finish, but do better than I did last time. Sometimes the goal is get number one, you know, and no matter what's happening, if you're pushing yourself to that point of being humbled by what you're involved in or who you're involved with, like being with people that are like, if you're the smartest person in that's the quote, like if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to get a new room, you know, because you need to always be kind of leveling it up.
Yeah. Well, and that's
just
in the running world, we have, you know, two acronyms. One is DNR and one is DNF. So you have did not run and did not finish.
Do not resuscitate.
Yeah. And I would rather have a DNF than a DNR.
Right.
Because that means I started. I at least started. I at least took the first step. Than the DNF. So it's kind of a quote that goes around, you know, our community. It's start.
Yeah.
Take that first step.
Yeah.
If you don't finish the first race, it's okay. But it's going to motivate you to try even harder the next race. One thing that I always tell my family and stuff, I'm sure, and friends, I'm sure they, you know, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so I don't get as upset when Kansas City is not doing as well as a lot of people in our community.
Sports.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You're yay sports.
Sports
but,
ball.
You know, when the Chiefs are on a run and they're like they have been for a few years and they're just winning every single game, and then they lose that like random game. Especially with the Raiders usually. Then right after that, you know, everybody's upset stuff. And I'm kind of like, I'm glad that they lost because it's just going to motivate them from there. If they would have won every single one, then they wouldn't have been humbled and they wouldn't have been trying as hard. Once you become so good at something that you're not challenged, then you're not going to become any better at it.
My son was telling me this last night. We were on a walk together and we were praying together and reading through actually a proverb. And I don't remember what there was one verse that like stood out to him and it had something to do with that idea. And he was talking about like I don't claim to know anything about this either, but some gaming thing, something that had to do with one of the games that he plays. And he was talking about how he was so super frustrated because he wasn't getting to this certain point in the game. And then he said this really insightful, like just tag, like he wasn't even thinking it was anything, but he's like, you know, but I'm glad that I couldn't make it because it just makes me, the more I try, it just makes me better at the whole game. And I was just like, okay, 12-year-old, like that, but that is what it is. It's like, we have
soon
to
be 13-year-old. So he's going to have that wisdom.
Yes. But that's what it is. It's like,
that's
humility comes before honor. It's like, he is understanding that the principle of the whole thing is more important than the accomplishment, right?
It's funny you said that. Okay, I'm not a video game person at all. I'm more of a go outside and actually like shoot each other with paintball guns. Like do it, actually do it. Don't just sit there and play a video game. But I remember
unless it's Grand Theft Auto, don't actually do that.
I think it was either PlayStation 1 or it was right when the PlayStation 2 came out. But there was a game on there. It was something Desert Storm or whatever. And anyways, my buddy got it and he was like, come play this game. Like, let's try to beat this game. And there was this one level where it was just, you would start off and you're like, you get to this point where you're like, okay, we got this. And then a tank would roll out and just blow you up. And you're like, okay. So the next one, remember, there's that tank. And so, you know, you take care of the tank and then you get to another point and then, you know, an RPG would come in and this would happen. And so you'd have to remember that. And so each time we lost that level, we learned something new from it. And you just kept building off of that until you were able to ultimately complete the level.
That's
and we
right.
ended up, it took us 24 hours, but we completed the game and everything. But so I love that. That's super insightful from
the lessons we learn along the way.
12-year-old. And guys, you can learn things from your kids.
Oh, always. Yeah. I learn a lot from my kids, especially the older they get. Yeah.
From my kids. Now, my 16-year-old right now, I try not to let him know that because he thinks he knows everything.
That's right.
So I need him to be humbled a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. It's like, I think that, I mean, all that we live in these ups and downs of life or whatever in these seasons. And I think there are some seasons where we aren't as receptive to those ideas.
Yeah.
And then in the later seasons where we do, there's also this kind of retrospective thing where we look back on knowing where our heads were at that time. And we go, like I was still actually like subconsciously learning a lot. Yeah. I just had a little bit too much pride or a little bit too much.
I was such a tool.
Yeah. I was such a teenager. I was such a whatever. And that can hit adults too. I mean, there's a lot of people that we live that are in suspended adolescence that are just
happened to me a few
there.
times this year.
Yeah.
And it took a few of those moments to be like, why was I even involved in that? I didn't even need to put that in my life.
Yeah.
Because it just became a negative in my life.
But again, that speaks to what she talked about, like having the right priorities. Whenever you order your life around the right things, you realize that you have a lot more capacity for those right things and for more of those right things. And you also realize that you don't have time for all the fluff, all the extra. Yeah. And you tend to like the stuff that's distracting you and the people that are distracting you, that tends to fall by the wayside because they're not keeping up anymore. And it's not a look back and laugh kind of thing. It's just, this is not where my life is. And, sorry, we can't, I'm not going to go backwards. So you can step up with me or you can kind of step out, and that's a thing that happens too. And that's a good thing. That's a blessing really when that happens, because nobody wants to lose relationships. Nobody wants to lose things that they at one point were very important to them or that they loved or whatever. But you have to acknowledge when your life is in a different spot, so that you can continually reorder things and put things in the right priority.
Yeah. To bring it kind of full circle, the question is how do I acknowledge those things? And a lot of times I had conversations with you and friends in our group as well. They were in a situation like that where literally sucking the life out of them. I mean, but they have no idea that it's happening until they do break out of it. They're like, oh my gosh, I was so lost. I was such a jerk, or whatever it was that moment. Cause they didn't even realize, what were we saying? Like this was a couple of years ago when we were all talking about this, but it was right here that we couldn't see past it. It's blinding us so much that we couldn't see past it. And then finally, once we moved it out of our way, we were like, oh, there's a whole nother world out there.
Right.
I'm not embracing that at all. And everybody within that group that, I'm talking, who I'm talking about has gone on and done some amazing things.
Yeah.
Started businesses, ventured out. I mean, done some really cool things. And every single one of those people are all way more happier now.
Oh yeah. And the other people are just kind of where they've always been.
Still
and to each his own, like that's do your thing. But, I don't want to just be kind of stunted at wherever I am. I want to progress and I want to grow. And that's not like an American success type advancement and growing and success. I'm not talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, and it goes back to the early part of her episode. Like I'm talking about that small life, like with air quotes, that the smaller we make our lives, the more enriching those lives are. And that doesn't mean that you can't have monetary success. That doesn't mean that you can't have a traditional American success story. That's all great. Yeah. But if that's the goal, I feel like your priorities are, you want honor before humility. It's like, allow your life to be the life that God gives you, and pursue, like an honest life and an honest, understanding of who you are as a person. She talked about it kind of the way I heard it. I don't even know if she said these words, but she was talking kind of just the cycles of life. And I was just thinking that mind, body, soul kind of thing, like that holistic kind of approach, like it all connects to the next thing. It's like when you're pursuing that, all that other stuff happens. That's a byproduct of that. And it's great. But when there's like this hollow kind of thing that we do when we pursue all that stuff, but we don't actually have the mindset to support it, and we don't have the right kind of outlook to handle that in a way that doesn't feel kind of like a put on. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're talking about with those old relationships and those old situations. It's like, yeah, it's all right in front of you. And you go, oh, I didn't even realize that all that stuff was just holding me back.
Right.
And now I'm free and we can move forward.
Do our thing.
And that's a great realization to have.
So, I mean, that's mainly what I took from it, you know, health, wellness, and really focusing on yourself, building a community based off of that. So make sure you're talking to yourself. Make sure you're happy with what you're doing. Are you happy with who you are in this moment? If you're not happy with who you are, then what do you need to do to change it? Make those changes, put the people in your life that you need to put in your life, build that community, and then make that a priority in your life were the three main things that I took. And what's cool is like Magda did it, and it sounded so easy when she was talking about it, and that she was just kind of like, it just happened. But those things don't just happen.
Right.
You have to be accepting as well. And she seemed like that type of person of just, I know God has me. So I'm just going to kind of let him take the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, quote a little Carrie Underwood there, take the wheel and kind of see how this plays out. And once she kind of opened up and was accepting of that, all the things kind of started to fall in place. And now she has a life that she feels has been earned, and that she loves, and that she respects, and she cherishes it. She cherishes it. We're going to edit that part out. Yeah.
She's built a life.
And and a life that she loves and that she really cares about. So those are things that I really took from it as well. Was there anything else that you kind of...
The main thing that I really keep going back to thinking about the episode is that just that right ordering, like you said, keeping the priorities, and that whole idea of everything that you do impacts everything else that you do in every other relationship that you have. And so we can choose to, kind of have a lack of discipline and kind of let life happen to us. Yeah. Or we can choose to get in the driver's seat along with Jesus, taking the wheel, which is very important. I think it's like an in tandem thing where we work with alongside God in those times. But for all intents and purposes, what we're talking about is just like getting out and getting motivated to live life. So you can really decide that you're going to create the life that you want. And that's the biggest thing, is like everything that she mentioned was her kind of having a conscious decision to make that. Yeah. And not forget her roots, and not forget the things that are important about where she came from and who she came from. That's so valuable. And I think we lose that a lot in modern life.
I agree. And once you get to that point, you go for it, and you got to go for it with 100% effort and see what happens. That's been a big part of me for running, but something that I've lacked in other parts of my life, like with businesses and things like that, when there's a little bit of fear involved or risk taking, it's like, oof, I don't know if I want to take that risk. And sometimes you're just going to be like, all right, we're going to do this together, and we're going to take that leap that leap of faith, and then you just go for it. So,
I landed on just this motivation to take charge again, because, it's easy. And for me, just my personality type, I just naturally, am not really a motivated person, to be honest. And so it's an effort that I have to put into those things. So it was really cool to hear her story and to feel that motivation of like, it's not empty motivation. It's not just some quote that you see online or something like that, which is not to say that's bad. I'm just saying it's not just that. There's a real story to it. And it was really encouraging to me to just go out and, pick up and go, just make stuff happen.
Yeah. So you heard it here, pick up and go, get out there and get moving. Stop being lazy.
Make it happen.
People. We'll take one of those.
We'll be doing that
and
too.
Make it look good.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I love it.
John, thanks for coming in, recapping with me a little bit. I mean, I really I did this podcast. I wanted to do this podcast because I knew that this community had incredible people in it. We had some super cool stories. But then I also wanted to have the recap episodes just because every time you and I sit down, we always have a good conversation. Yeah. So I'm like, let's just start recording these and
I think that's great.
Make it a thing instead of us having to try to schedule something.
Oh, I love it too.
Lives, so.
I love it because it's just like a consistent chance to one, to connect relationships. That's what we're talking about. But also like just to hear it, just to like congratulate you on this great idea of like literally having a podcast dedicated to how the viewer or the listener would maybe hear some things, interpret some things. Maybe it encourages people to go back, even if they heard it before, and they go back and listen for new insights and new ideas and stuff. It's like, that's a cool idea. And I think it's of course great to talk to you as always. And it's fun, but it's also like, I think a unique thing that this podcast is offering. Like, here are some insights. Here are some ideas. Here's the perspective of the listener. I don't think you see that a lot. So
and also not from celebrities or
it's just people, just
professionals or anything. I mean, these are just regular people that we're bringing in there. You're a regular dude, although amazing in my eyes. You are a shining light in my eyes.
It's reciprocal. Thank you, sir.
But in the rest of the world, you're a normal dude from a small town.
I think that's where the best stuff happens, though.
Yeah.
This is about seeing. I have a friend who used to put in like her Instagram bio, like seeing the majestic in the mundane.
Yeah,
and
it'd been better if you said MySpace, but
it was her. I was in her top 8 on MySpace, but her quote was no, but seeing the majestic in the mundane. It's like maybe people just generally look at this as like, it's just life in a small town, and it is, but that's where that beauty is. That's where, people live these robust, like very diverse, like very interesting and good and like connected and lovely lives in small towns like ours. And so you can see it anywhere. You can hear these stories from the people. It doesn't have to be from a celebrity. It doesn't have to be in some like crazy, huge, I don't even know, like it doesn't have to be that level for it to be just as impactful and amazing. And so I think that's what this is about.
So that's what I'm hoping to bring. Well, as always, thank you, buddy. Love hanging out with you.
Same.
This is the recap episode with Magda, and I appreciate you bringing your insights to it and look forward to the next one.
Me too. Love it.